Staff Sergeant Maya Rodriguez had been staring at the same rejection letter for 3 days. The paper was getting worn from her fingers, tracing over the official seal of Naval Special Warfare Command. Application denied due to insufficient qualifications and failure to meet physical standards. The words burned every time she read them. She sat in the small break room at Camp Pendleton, watching through the window as another group of male Marines headed toward the Advanced Marksmanship Training Facility. The same facility she had been trying to access for 8 months. The same facility where she knew she belonged. Maya had grown up in the mountains of Colorado, where her grandfather taught her to shoot before she could properly tie her shoes. By age 12, she could hit a tin can at 300 yards with an old hunting rifle. By 16, she was winning state competitions. By 20, she had enlisted in the Marines and quickly became one of the best shooters in her unit. But none of that seemed to matter to Colonel James Harrison, the commanding officer who controlled access to the elite sniper program. He was old-school military, the kind who believed women belonged in support roles, not on the front lines with a rifle. Maya folded the letter and tucked it into her pocket. She had one more idea, one last chance to prove herself. The annual open firing range competition was coming up in 2 weeks. It was technically open to all military personnel stationed at Pendleton, regardless of their current assignment or specialization. Winners got recognition, but more importantly, they got noticed by the right people. She walked across the base to the administrative building, her boots clicking against the concrete in steady rhythm. The California sun was brutal, but Maya had trained in worse conditions. Heat, cold, rain, snow, nothing affected her aim. The admin building was cool and quiet. Maya approached the desk where Corporal Jenkins was typing away at his computer. "I need to register for the annual marksmanship competition," she said. Jenkins looked up, surprised. "You sure about that, Rodriguez? It's going to be mostly snipers and special forces guys. The competition is pretty intense." "I'm sure." He shrugged and pulled out the necessary paperwork. "Your call. Entry fee is $50, and you'll need to provide your own ammunition for the qualifying rounds. Final competition. They provide everything." Maya filled out the forms and handed over her money. As she turned to leave, Jenkins called after her. "Hey, Rodriguez. Good luck. You're going to need it." Word spread quickly around the base that Staff Sergeant Rodriguez had entered the competition. The news reached Colonel Harrison by the end of the day, delivered by his aide during their evening briefing. "Sir, I thought you should know that Staff Sergeant Rodriguez has registered for the annual marksmanship competition." Colonel Harrison looked up from his paperwork, his gray eyebrows raised. "Rodriguez? The same Rodriguez who's been pestering me about sniper school?" "Yes, sir. That's the one." The colonel leaned back in his chair and chuckled. It wasn't a pleasant sound. "Well, this should be interesting. Make sure I get a good view of the competition. I want to see this for myself." Maya spent the next 2 weeks preparing. She woke up at 4 in the morning and ran 5 miles before most people were even thinking about breakfast. Then she headed to the regular firing range, where she was allowed to practice with her standard-issue rifle. The advanced range with the precision weapons was still off-limits to her. She studied ballistics tables, wind patterns, and temperature effects on bullet trajectory. She practiced breathing techniques and meditation to control her heart rate. She worked on her physical conditioning, knowing that holding a steady position for extended periods required more than just good aim. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, one of the few other women in Maya's unit, often joined her for the morning runs. Sarah worked in intelligence, but she understood the challenges Maya faced better than most. "You know they're all expecting you to fail, right?" Sarah said as they jogged along the perimeter road. "I know," Maya replied, her breathing steady despite their pace. "Harrison especially. He's been telling people that this competition will put an end to your unrealistic ambitions." Those were his exact words. Maya's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. She was saving her energy for where it counted. The day of the qualifying rounds arrived with typical Southern California weather: clear skies, light winds, and perfect visibility. Maya arrived at the range early, carrying her rifle case and a small bag of personal gear. She had spent hours cleaning and adjusting her rifle, making sure every component was perfect. The range was buzzing with activity. 43 competitors had registered, and Maya quickly realized she was the only woman. The men clustered in small groups, comparing equipment and sharing stories about their best shots. Maya found a quiet spot and began setting up her gear. "Well, well, what do we have here?" Maya looked up to see Gunnery Sergeant Mike Torres approaching. She knew Torres by reputation. He was one of the base's top snipers and had served multiple tours in Afghanistan. He was also known for his less-than-progressive views about women in combat roles. "Just getting ready for the competition, Gunny," Maya replied evenly. Torres looked at her rifle and smirked. "That's a nice little gun you have there, Rodriguez. Might be good for hunting rabbits." Several other competitors had gathered around, drawn by the possibility of drama. Maya could feel their eyes on her, waiting to see how she would respond. "It shoots where I point it," she said simply, continuing to adjust her scope. "We'll see about that," Torres said, then raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Gentlemen, place your bets now. I'm thinking our Lady Marine here doesn't make it past the first round." Maya's hands remained steady as she finished her preparations, but inside, her anger was building. She had faced this kind of dismissal her entire military career. The assumptions, the jokes, the casual dismissal of her abilities. But she had learned to channel that anger into focus. The qualifying round consisted of 3 stages: 200 yards standing, 300 yards prone, and 400 yards with a time limit. Competitors would be eliminated after each stage until only 16 remained for the main competition. Colonel Harrison arrived just as the first stage was beginning. He took a position in the observation area, clearly visible to all the competitors. Maya noticed him immediately, but forced herself not to look in his direction again. "Competitors, take your positions for the first stage," called out Master Sergeant Williams, the range safety officer. "You will fire 5 rounds at the 200-yard target from standing position. You have 10 minutes to complete your sequence." Maya stepped up to the firing line along with the other competitors. She could feel the weight of their attention, the mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Some of them were already dismissing her, focusing on their own performance instead of worrying about the woman with the rabbit gun. That was their first mistake. Maya settled into her shooting stance, feeling the familiar weight of the rifle against her shoulder. She controlled her breathing, letting her heart rate settle into its normal rhythm. The target at 200 yards looked clear and sharp through her scope. The first shot broke clean and smooth. She didn't need to check the spotting scope to know it was a good hit. She could feel it in the way the rifle recoiled, hear it in the sound of the shot. 4 more rounds followed in steady succession. When the ceasefire was called, Maya lowered her rifle and waited for the scores to be posted. Around her, competitors were using spotting scopes to check their targets, some looking confident, others clearly worried. "Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya," came the announcement over the loudspeaker. "Score, 50 points, perfect score." A murmur ran through the crowd of observers and competitors. Maya allowed herself a small smile as she heard someone mutter, "Lucky shots." Torres was standing nearby, studying his own target through his spotting scope. His score came back as 47 points. Very good, but not perfect. He glanced over at Maya with a different expression now, no longer quite so dismissive. The second stage moved the targets to 300 yards and required competitors to shoot from prone position. This was Maya's strongest discipline. She had spent countless hours practicing from this position, learning to use the ground itself as a stable platform. Maya settled into her prone position, adjusting her body until everything felt perfectly aligned. The target seemed to float in her scope, steady and clear. She let her breathing settle, feeling the subtle rhythm of her heartbeat through the rifle stock. 5 shots, fired with mechanical precision. Each one felt perfect, the sight picture clear, the trigger break clean and straight back. Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya, score, 50 points, perfect score. This time the murmur was louder, and Maya caught several competitors looking at her with new interest. Colonel Harrison was leaning forward in his chair, his expression unreadable. The third and final stage of qualifying was the most challenging. 400 yards with a time limit of 8 minutes. Competitors could choose their shooting position, but had to engage multiple targets in sequence. Only the top 16 scores would advance to the main competition. Maya chose to shoot from prone position again, but this time she had to transition between 3 different targets at varying distances. Speed and accuracy both mattered, and the pressure was starting to eliminate competitors who had looked confident in the earlier stages. She worked through her sequence methodically, not rushing but not hesitating either. Target 1, 350 yards. Target 2, 400 yards. Target 3, 425 yards. Then back through the sequence in reverse order. When she finished with 2 minutes still remaining on the clock, Maya was confident but not cocky. The targets at this distance required perfect form and precise calculation. A single mistake could mean the difference between advancing and going home. The scores were posted 20 minutes later. Maya's name appeared at the top of the list with another perfect score. Torres had made it through with a score of 96 out of 100. Several well-known snipers hadn't qualified at all. Colonel Harrison approached Maya as she was packing up her equipment. "Impressive shooting today, Staff Sergeant," he said, his tone carefully neutral. "Thank you, sir. The main competition is next week. Are you prepared for that level of intensity?" Maya met his eyes directly. "Yes, sir, I am." The colonel studied her for a moment, then nodded. "We'll see. The real competition starts when you're up against my best snipers. Today was just the warm-up." As he walked away, Maya heard him speaking quietly to Master Sergeant Williams. She couldn't make out the words, but his tone suggested he was not entirely pleased with the day's results. Maya finished packing her gear and headed back to her barracks. She had made it through the first hurdle, but she knew the real challenge was yet to come. The main competition would pit her against the base's elite marksmen, men who had trained for years in the most advanced sniper programs available. That evening, word of Maya's performance had spread throughout the base. Some Marines were impressed, others skeptical. The general consensus seemed to be that she had gotten lucky in the qualifying rounds but would struggle against real competition. Maya didn't mind the skepticism. She had been dealing with it her entire career. What mattered was that she had earned her place in the main competition, and now she had a chance to prove what she was really capable of. She spent the evening cleaning her rifle and reviewing the competition format for the following week. The main event would consist of multiple stages, each designed to test different aspects of marksmanship skill. Long-range precision, moving targets, unknown distances, and stress shooting under time pressure. Lieutenant Chen stopped by her room as Maya was finishing her equipment check. "Heard you made quite an impression today," Sarah said, sitting on the edge of Maya's bunk. "It's just the beginning," Maya replied. "The real test is next week. Torres has been telling everyone that you won't make it past the first stage of the main competition. He's got a lot of people believing him." Maya looked up from her rifle. "What do you think?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I think Torres and the others are about to learn something they should have figured out a long time ago." "What's that?" "That underestimating you is a mistake they're only going to make once." Maya smiled at that. She had spent years being underestimated, and it had become her greatest tactical advantage. Men like Torres and Colonel Harrison saw what they expected to see. A woman trying to compete in a man's world. They didn't see the hours of training, the dedication, or the natural talent that had brought her this far. Next week, she would show them exactly what they had been missing. The base was quieter after evening chow, but Maya could still feel the undercurrent of excitement and speculation about the upcoming competition. She knew that by tomorrow, stories about her qualifying performance would be spreading beyond Camp Pendleton. The military community was small, and word traveled fast when something unexpected happened. Maya finished her preparations and set her alarm for 4 in the morning. She had a week to fine-tune her skills and prepare mentally for the most important shooting competition of her career. Everything she had worked for, everything she had dreamed about, would be decided in the next 7 days. As she turned off the lights, Maya thought about her grandfather back in Colorado. He had taught her that shooting was about more than just hitting targets. It was about discipline, patience, and the ability to perform under pressure. Most importantly, he had taught her that the best shooters were made, not born, through thousands of hours of practice and an unshakable belief in their own abilities. Maya had both of those things, and next week she would prove it to everyone who had ever doubted her. The week between qualifying and the main competition passed faster than Maya expected. Every day brought new challenges as she prepared for what would be the most demanding shooting test of her military career. The 16 finalists had been posted on the base bulletin board, and Maya's name stood out as the only woman among some of the most respected marksmen in the Corps. Maya's daily routine intensified. She studied weather patterns, memorized range cards for every known distance on Camp Pendleton's training areas, and spent hours in mental preparation. The base library became her second home as she researched advanced ballistics calculations and studied competition footage from previous years. Colonel Harrison had made his expectations clear during the competitors' briefing. The main competition would consist of 5 stages spread over 2 days. Each stage would eliminate competitors until only one remained. The winner would receive the base marksmanship trophy, and more importantly to Maya, would earn serious consideration for advanced sniper training. This competition will test every aspect of precision marksmanship, Harrison had announced to the assembled finalists. You will face unknown distances, adverse weather conditions, time pressure, and scenarios designed to replicate real-world operational stress. Maya noticed how his eyes lingered on her when he mentioned operational stress. The message was clear. He was expecting her to crack under pressure. On the morning of the first day, Maya arrived at the range complex before dawn. The marine layer had rolled in from the Pacific, creating a thick fog that would burn off by mid-morning. Perfect conditions for a challenging shoot. The first stage was called Precision at Distance, and it immediately separated the dedicated marksmen from those who had simply gotten lucky during qualifying. Competitors would engage targets at ranges from 600 to 1,000 yards, with exact distances unknown until they reached each firing position. Maya drew shooting position number 7, placing her in the middle of the pack. She preferred going later in these competitions. It allowed her to observe wind conditions and see how other shooters adjusted for environmental factors. Gunnery Sergeant Torres had drawn position number 3. Maya watched as he worked through his shots with professional efficiency. His technique was solid, and he was clearly comfortable at extended ranges. When his scores were posted, he had achieved 94 out of a possible 100 points. Several other competitors shot in the high 80s and low 90s. The targets at these distances were challenging even for experienced snipers, and Maya could see that some shooters were struggling with the changing wind conditions. When her turn came, Maya approached the firing line with quiet confidence. The range safety officer handed her a card with the target distances: 600, 750, 850, and 1,000 yards. 4 shots, 1 at each target, with 15 minutes to complete the entire sequence. Maya settled into her shooting position and began her range estimation process. She had learned to trust her eyes and her calculations, But at these distances, even small errors could mean missing the target entirely. The first target at 600 yards was clearly visible through her scope. Maya adjusted for wind drift. She estimated 3 miles per hour from the left, which would push her bullet slightly right of center. Her first shot broke clean, and through her spotting scope she could see the impact exactly where she had aimed. The 750-yard target required a different calculation. The wind had shifted slightly, now coming more from the front, which would affect bullet velocity and trajectory. Maya made her adjustments and fired her second shot. As the competition progressed to the longer ranges, Maya found herself entering the mental state her grandfather had taught her years ago. Everything else faded away. The observers, the other competitors, even her awareness of the competition itself. There was only the target, the rifle, and the perfect execution of everything she had practiced. Her shot at 850 yards felt perfect the moment the trigger broke. The 1,000-yard shot required her most careful calculation. At that distance, every variable mattered. Wind speed and direction, temperature, humidity, even the rotation of the earth became factors in bullet flight. Maya took her time with the final shot, checking and rechecking her calculations. When she was satisfied, she settled into her shooting position and controlled her breathing. The shot broke with mechanical precision. Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya. Score, 100 points. Perfect score. The announcement drew immediate attention from everyone on the range. A perfect score on the precision stage was rare even among the base's top snipers. Maya had now achieved perfect scores in every stage she had attempted. Colonel Harrison was standing near the scoring table, and Maya could see him speaking intensely with Master Sergeant Williams. Their body language suggested they were not entirely pleased with the results so far. The second stage, scheduled for that afternoon, was called Moving Target Engagement. Competitors would track and engage targets moving at various speeds and directions from distances between 300 and 500 yards. This stage tested a completely different skill set and often eliminated shooters who excelled at stationary target precision. Maya had less experience with moving targets than some of the other competitors, particularly those who had trained in advanced sniper schools. But she had practiced extensively over the past week, and more importantly, she had grown up hunting in the Colorado mountains, where stationary targets were rare. The moving target stage used mechanical systems to pull silhouette targets across the range at preset speeds. Competitors had to lead their targets appropriately and time their shots to intercept the target's path. 5 targets, 5 shots, with varying speeds and directions. Torres went first in this stage and posted an impressive score of 96 points, missing only 1 of the 5 targets. Several other competitors scored in the 80s and low 90s. The moving targets were clearly more challenging than stationary precision shooting. When Maya's turn came, she approached the line with the same calm focus she had maintained all day. The first target moved from left to right at a walking pace. Maya tracked it smoothly through her scope, calculating the lead distance needed for her bullet to intercept the target's path. Her first shot connected solidly, and Maya quickly transitioned to the second target. This one moved faster, at approximately the speed of a running person. The lead distance was greater, and Maya had to trust her instincts developed through years of hunting experience. The third and fourth targets presented different challenges. One moved at an angle across her field of view, while another moved toward her position at varying speeds. Maya worked through each shot methodically, applying the same principles her grandfather had taught her about hunting moving game. The final target was the most challenging. It moved erratically, stopping and starting randomly as it crossed the range. This simulated a real-world scenario where a target might take cover or change direction unexpectedly. Maya waited patiently, watching the target's pattern through her scope. When it paused momentarily in the open, she took her shot. Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya. Score, 100 points. Perfect score. This time the reaction was immediate and unmistakable. Conversations stopped around the range as people turned to look at Maya. 2 perfect stages in the same day was unprecedented in the competition's history. Torres was standing with a group of other snipers, and Maya could hear fragments of their conversation. Impossible to shoot that clean 2 stages in a row. Has to be equipment malfunction. Targets were probably miscalibrated. Colonel Harrison approached Maya as she was cleaning her rifle after the stage. "Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, I need to inspect your weapon and ammunition," he said curtly. Maya was expecting this. "Of course, sir." She handed over her rifle and the remainder of her ammunition for inspection. Colonel Harrison examined everything carefully, checking the scope mounting, rifle barrel, and ammunition specifications. Everything was within normal parameters and matched exactly what other competitors were using. "Your equipment appears to be in order," he said finally, though his tone suggested he was not entirely satisfied with that conclusion. "Thank you, sir." Tomorrow's stages will be significantly more challenging. Weather conditions are expected to deteriorate, and the scenarios will test your ability to perform under operational stress. Maya met his eyes steadily. "I understand, sir." That evening, the base dining facility was buzzing with talk about Maya's performance. She tried to eat quietly at her usual table, but she was acutely aware of the conversations happening around her. Some Marines seemed genuinely impressed, while others remained skeptical. Lieutenant Chen joined her for dinner, along with a few other women from their unit. "So, how does it feel to be the talk of the entire base?" Sarah asked. "It feels like the easy part is over," Maya replied. "Tomorrow is when things get really difficult." "What do you mean?" "The first 2 stages tested basic marksmanship skills. Tomorrow will test everything else: stress management, adaptability, and the ability to perform when everything is working against you." Sergeant Lisa Park from the motor pool leaned forward. "I heard Torres is telling people that you won't make it past the first stage tomorrow. He says precision shooting is different from combat shooting." Maya nodded. "He's not wrong about that. But he's making an assumption about what kind of shooter I am." "What kind of assumption?" "He thinks because I'm good at precision shooting, I must be weak at everything else. He's about to find out that's not true." Maya finished her dinner and excused herself early. She wanted to review the competition format for the following day and get adequate rest. Tomorrow would test not just her marksmanship skills, but her mental toughness and ability to adapt under pressure. The next morning arrived with gray skies and a steady wind that promised challenging shooting conditions. Maya arrived at the range to find that the course had been modified overnight. New obstacles had been added, and the shooting positions looked more demanding than anything they had faced so far. The 3rd stage was called combat stress shooting. Competitors would navigate a course that included physical obstacles, time pressure, and shooting positions that simulated real-world combat scenarios. The targets were placed at unknown distances and would only be visible for limited time periods. Maya was assigned to go last in the shooting order, which meant she would have to wait while 15 other competitors attempted the course. She used the time to observe and learn, watching how each shooter dealt with the physical and mental demands of the stage. Torres attacked the course aggressively, moving quickly between positions and engaging targets with rapid precision. His military experience was evident in how he handled the tactical aspects of the stage, and he posted a solid score of 92 points. Other competitors struggled with various aspects of the course. Some were excellent marksmen but had difficulty with the physical demands. Others handled the movement well but struggled with accuracy under time pressure. When Maya's turn finally came, she approached the starting line with the same calm focus she had maintained throughout the competition. The course began with a 50-yard low crawl under simulated enemy fire, followed by a series of shooting positions at varying distances and elevations. Maya moved through the course with fluid efficiency, not rushing but never hesitating. At each shooting position, she quickly assessed the situation, range to target, wind conditions, shooting position stability, and made her shots with mechanical precision. The course required shots from kneeling, standing, prone, and even from a simulated helicopter window. Each position tested different skills and required instant adaptation to new challenges. When Maya completed the final shot and the timer stopped, she felt confident, but not cocky. The course had been demanding, and she knew that even small errors could accumulate into significant score reductions. Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya, score 98 points. Maya's first non-perfect score drew a mixture of reactions. Some competitors seemed relieved that she had finally shown vulnerability, while others were impressed that she had still achieved the highest score of the day. Colonel Harrison was present for the score announcement, and Maya caught a brief smile cross his face when her score was called out. She realized that he might have been hoping for a more significant stumble. The fourth stage, scheduled for that afternoon, was called Unknown Distance Rapid Engagement. This stage would test the competitor's ability to quickly estimate ranges and engage multiple targets under severe time pressure. It was designed to simulate a sniper's worst nightmare, multiple threats appearing simultaneously at unknown ranges with no time for careful calculation. Maya spent the break between stages reviewing her range estimation techniques and practicing rapid target acquisition. This stage would require her to trust her instincts and training completely, with no time for second-guessing or careful deliberation. The stage consisted of 8 targets positioned at ranges between 200 and 800 yards. Competitors had 6 minutes to identify all target locations, estimate ranges, and engage each target once. Missing any target or exceeding the time limit resulted in significant point deductions. Maya watched as the earlier competitors struggled with the time pressure. Several excellent marksmen missed targets entirely because they spent too much time on careful calculations. Others rushed their shots and sacrificed accuracy for speed. When her turn came, Maya approached the starting position with a clear mental strategy. She would rely on her range estimation skills developed through years of hunting, trust her instincts about wind and environmental factors, and shoot with controlled aggression. The timer started, and Maya immediately began identifying target locations through her scope. Years of hunting experience had taught her to see patterns and details that others might miss. She quickly cataloged all 8 targets and began her engagement sequence. Maya worked through the targets systematically, moving from closest to farthest to minimize scope adjustments. Each shot was taken with confidence but without unnecessary hesitation. She trusted her range estimations and wind calculations, firing as soon as her sight picture was acceptable. With 30 seconds remaining on the clock, Maya engaged her final target. The shot felt good, and she immediately confirmed the hit through her scope. She had completed all 8 targets with time to spare. Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya. Score, 96 points. Again, the highest score of the day, though not perfect. Maya was satisfied with her performance. The stage had required exactly the kind of rapid decision-making and instinctive shooting that separated good marksmen from great ones. After 4 stages, Maya held a comfortable lead in the overall standings. Torres was in second place, followed by Staff Sergeant Johnson from the base Scout Sniper Platoon. Several other competitors had fallen too far behind to have any realistic chance of winning. The final stage would be held the following morning, and Maya knew it would be the most challenging yet. The stage was simply called the Gauntlet, and according to the competition guidelines, it was designed to test every skill a sniper might need in actual combat operations. That evening, Maya received an unexpected visitor in her barracks. Colonel Harrison knocked on her door just after evening chow. "Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, do you have a few minutes?" "Of course, sir." Harrison entered her room and looked around briefly before settling into the chair at her small desk. His expression was serious, and Maya couldn't read his intentions. "In 25 years of military service, I've seen a lot of impressive shooting," he began. "Your performance over the past 2 days ranks among the best I've ever witnessed." "Thank you, sir," However, I want you to understand what winning this competition would mean. The base marksmanship trophy comes with certain expectations and opportunities, advanced training, specialized assignments, and ultimately, roles that place tremendous responsibility on the individual. Maya remained silent, letting him continue. The sniper program is not just about shooting accurately. It requires mental toughness, adaptability, and the ability to make life-and-death decisions under extreme pressure. Are you prepared for that level of responsibility? Yes, sir. I believe I am. Colonel Harrison studied her carefully. Tomorrow's final stage will test more than just your marksmanship. It will test your character, your judgment, and your ability to perform when everything is on the line. If you truly believe you belong in the sniper program, tomorrow is your chance to prove it. I understand, sir. Good. Get some rest, Rodriguez. Tomorrow will be the most important day of your military career. After the colonel left, Maya sat quietly in her room, processing the conversation. She understood the subtext. Tomorrow's stage would be designed specifically to challenge her in ways that went beyond simple marksmanship. Colonel Harrison was giving her one final opportunity to prove she belonged, but he was also making it clear that he expected her to fail. Maya spent the evening in quiet preparation, reviewing everything she had learned and practiced over the past months. Tomorrow would determine whether all her efforts had been worthwhile or whether she would remain just another Marine who had dreamed of something more. Maya woke before her alarm, as she had every day since the competition began. The base was still dark and quiet, with only the distant sound of the ocean waves breaking against the cliffs. Today would be different from all the others. Today was the gauntlet. She dressed methodically in her field uniform and gathered her equipment. Her rifle had been cleaned and inspected the night before, and every piece of gear had been checked and double-checked. Maya had learned early in her military career that attention to detail in preparation often determined success or failure when it mattered most. The walk to the range complex took 15 minutes, and Maya used the time to center her thoughts and review her mental checklist. She had studied every piece of available information about previous gauntlet stages, though the format changed each year to prevent competitors from preparing for specific challenges. When she arrived at the staging area, Maya found that she was not alone. Colonel Harrison was there, along with several other senior officers she didn't recognize. Master Sergeant Williams was setting up equipment, and the atmosphere felt more formal and serious than the previous days. "Staff Sergeant Rodriguez," Colonel Harrison called out as she approached. "I want you to meet some people." Maya approached the group of officers and came to attention. "This is Colonel James Mitchell from Naval Special Warfare Command," Harrison continued, "and Major Sarah Thompson from Marine Corps Scout Sniper School. They're here to observe today's final stage." Maya shook hands with both officers, noting the intensity of their scrutiny. Colonel Mitchell was wearing the trident insignia of a Navy SEAL, while Major Thompson's uniform displayed the crossed rifles of a qualified sniper instructor. "We've heard impressive things about your performance, Staff Sergeant," Colonel Mitchell said. "Today's stage has been designed to replicate some of the most challenging scenarios our operators face in the field." "I understand, sir." "The current course record for the gauntlet was set 3 years ago by a member of SEAL Team 3, Major Thompson added. "It's considered one of the most demanding marksmanship challenges in the military." Maya nodded but didn't respond verbally. She understood that these officers were here to evaluate her not just as a marksman, but as a potential candidate for elite military programs. The pressure was building exactly as Colonel Harrison had intended. The other competitors began arriving as the sun rose over the Pacific. Torres looked confident and relaxed, joking with several of the other snipers. Staff Sergeant Johnson appeared focused and determined. Maya remained slightly apart from the group, running through her mental preparation routines. At precisely 0800 hours, Master Sergeant Williams called the competitors together for the final briefing. "Gentlemen and lady," he began, nodding toward Maya. "Today's stage will test every aspect of precision marksmanship and tactical decision-making. The gauntlet consists of 12 separate challenges that must be completed in sequence. You will face unknown distances, adverse conditions, physical obstacles, and time pressure." Williams paused and looked directly at each competitor. "More importantly, you will face scenarios that require tactical judgment and the ability to adapt when your original plan fails. This is not just a shooting competition. It's an evaluation of your potential as a military marksman in real-world operations." The course layout was revealed as Williams continued his briefing. 12 stations were spread across a 2-mile course that included natural terrain features, man-made obstacles, and environmental challenges. Each station would present a different tactical scenario, and competitors would be scored on both accuracy and decision-making. Maya studied the course map carefully, identifying potential challenges and planning her approach. The stations included long-range precision shots, rapid target engagement, shooting from unstable platforms, and what appeared to be a hostage rescue scenario. "You will attempt the course individually," Williams continued. "Time limit is 4 hours from start to finish. Failure to complete any station within the allocated time results in automatic disqualification." Torres was selected to go first, followed by Johnson and the remaining competitors in order of their current standings. Maya would go last, which meant she would attempt the course after everyone else had either succeeded or failed. Maya spent the morning watching and learning as each competitor tackled the gauntlet. The course was brutally demanding, combining physical challenges with complex shooting scenarios that required split-second decision-making. Torres moved through the first several stations efficiently, but Maya noticed him struggling with Station 7, which required shooting from a swaying rope bridge while engaging multiple targets at unknown distances. His normal aggressive style worked against him in that scenario, and he lost valuable time and accuracy points. Johnson performed well on the precision shooting stations, but had difficulty with the more dynamic scenarios that required rapid target assessment and engagement. By Station 10, he was clearly falling behind the time requirements and eventually failed to complete the course. One by one, competitors either failed to finish within the time limit or accumulated enough penalty points to eliminate themselves from contention. Several good marksmen were defeated not by their shooting skills, but by their inability to adapt quickly to unexpected challenges. When Maya's turn finally came, only 3 competitors had successfully completed the course, and none had achieved the score needed to break the existing record set by the SEAL team member 3 years earlier. Maya approached the starting line with her rifle and a small pack containing essential equipment. Colonel Harrison, Colonel Mitchell, and Major Thompson had positioned themselves where they could observe her performance throughout the course. "Staff Sergeant Rodriguez," Master Sergeant Williams said formally, "you may begin when ready." Maya checked her watch, adjusted her equipment, and started moving toward Station 1. The first challenge was a straightforward precision shot at 800 yards, but the target was partially obscured by vegetation and required careful observation to identify the exact aiming point. Maya settled into her shooting position and began her range and wind calculations. The morning wind patterns had been shifting throughout the day, and she had to account for the changing conditions. Her first shot connected solidly with the target, earning maximum points for the station. Station 2 required rapid engagement of multiple targets at ranges between 300 and 500 yards. Maya had 45 seconds to identify and engage 6 targets arranged around a simulated village scenario. She worked through the targets methodically, prioritizing based on distance and tactical importance. As Maya progressed through the course, she found herself entering a flow state where everything clicked into place. Her physical conditioning allowed her to move efficiently between stations, while her mental preparation helped her adapt quickly to each new challenge. Station 5 presented an unexpected problem. The shooting position was on a narrow platform 30 feet above the ground, and the targets were positioned to require shooting at steep downward angles. Several previous competitors had struggled with this station, and Maya could see why. She climbed to the platform and assessed the tactical situation. The steep angles would affect bullet trajectory, and the elevated position made it difficult to maintain a stable shooting stance. Maya drew on her experience hunting in the Colorado mountains, where she had often shot from precarious positions on rocky outcrops. Her shots from Station 5 were precise and confident, earning her full points and putting her ahead of the time schedule. Station 7, the rope bridge that had given Torres trouble, required a different approach. Maya studied the swaying motion of the bridge and realized that fighting the movement was counterproductive. Instead, she timed her shots to coincide with the natural rhythm of the bridge's oscillation. By Station 9, Maya was well ahead of the course record pace, but she knew the most challenging scenarios were yet to come. Station 10 was designed to simulate a hostage rescue situation, with targets representing both hostiles and innocent civilians positioned at close range. Maya approached this station with particular care. The scenario required not just accurate shooting, but perfect target identification and the judgment to engage only legitimate threats. A single error in target selection would result in massive point penalties. She studied the scenario carefully through her scope, identifying each target and planning her engagement sequence. When she began shooting, Maya's movements were deliberate and controlled. Each shot was taken only after absolute confirmation of target identification. Station 11 required the longest shot of the course, 1,200 yards in variable wind conditions. This was beyond the range most military marksmen trained for regularly, and it demanded perfect calculation and execution. Maya set up her shooting position with extra care. Using every technique her grandfather had taught her about reading wind and environmental conditions. The target was barely visible through her scope, appearing as a small dot against the distant hillside. She made her calculations, checked and double-checked her scope adjustments, and settled into her final shooting position. The shot would require perfect trigger control and absolute confidence in her calculations. The rifle recoiled smoothly, and Maya immediately focused her spotting scope on the distant target. The bullet impact was exactly where she had aimed, center mass on a target most people couldn't even see clearly. The final station, number 12, was described simply as tactical judgment. When Maya arrived, she found Master Sergeant Williams waiting with a complex scenario brief. "Staff Sergeant, you are a military sniper providing overwatch for a convoy moving through hostile territory. Multiple threats have been identified, but you have limited ammunition and must prioritize your targets to ensure mission success." Williams handed her a detailed map showing the convoy route and marked threat positions. Maya studied the scenario carefully, noting the distances, fields of fire, and potential consequences of each engagement decision. This station wasn't just about shooting accuracy. It was about strategic thinking and the ability to make life-and-death decisions under pressure. Maya realized that this was Colonel Harrison's final test of her potential as a military sniper. She worked through the scenario methodically, identifying the most dangerous threats first and planning her engagement sequence to maximize the protection of the convoy. When she began shooting, each shot was taken with full understanding of its tactical importance. Maya completed the final station with precision and confidence, knowing that she had applied not just her marksmanship skills, but all the tactical knowledge and judgment she had developed throughout her military career. When Master Sergeant Williams called out her final time and score, the reaction was immediate and unmistakable. "Rodriguez, Staff Sergeant Maya, course time, 2 hours, 47 minutes, total score, 994 points out of a possible 1,000, new course record." Maya had not only completed the gauntlet successfully, she had shattered the previous record by more than 50 points and finished over an hour ahead of the time limit. Colonel Harrison approached Maya as she was securing her equipment after the course completion. "Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, that was an exceptional performance," he said, and for the first time since she had known him, his tone was genuinely respectful. "Thank you, sir. Colonel Mitchell and Major Thompson would like to speak with you about some opportunities that have become available." Maya looked toward the two officers, who were reviewing her scores and discussing something intently. Colonel Mitchell approached and extended his hand. "Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, I've been authorized to offer you a position in the Navy's Special Operations Sniper Program. Your performance today demonstrates exactly the kind of skills and judgment we're looking for." Major Thompson stepped forward as well. "The Marine Corps Scout Sniper School would also be honored to have you as a student. Your tactical decision-making on the final station was particularly impressive." Maya looked back and forth between the two officers, then at Colonel Harrison. The man who had dismissed her applications for months was now smiling broadly. "Sir, I appreciate both offers," Maya said carefully. "May I ask what changed your assessment of my qualifications?" Colonel Harrison's smile became slightly embarrassed. "Staff Sergeant, I made the mistake of evaluating you based on assumptions rather than demonstrated ability. Your performance over the past few days has shown me that you possess not just exceptional marksmanship skills, but the mental toughness and tactical judgment essential for special operations work. I was wrong to dismiss your applications previously," he continued. "Today's performance proves that you have the potential to be one of the finest snipers in the military, regardless of gender." Maya felt a surge of satisfaction, but she kept her expression professional. "Thank you, sir. I would be honored to attend either program." "Actually," Colonel Mitchell interjected, "we've discussed this, and we'd like to offer you something unique. You would attend both programs, Marine Corps Scout Sniper School first, followed by advanced training with Naval Special Warfare. It's an unprecedented opportunity for cross-training between services." Maya looked around at the assembled officers, then back at her rifle, the same rabbit gun that Torres had mocked just days earlier. Her grandfather's lessons about patience and persistence had proven true once again. "I accept," she said simply. 6 months later, Staff Sergeant Maya Rodriguez graduated first in her class from Marine Corps Scout Sniper School. Her instructors noted her exceptional performance in both precision marksmanship and tactical decision-making. She went on to complete the Naval Special Warfare Sniper Program, where she established several new training records and earned the respect of some of the military's most elite operators. The base marksmanship competition trophy sat on Maya's shelf back at Camp Pendleton, but it was no longer the symbol of achievement she had once thought it would be. Instead, it represented something more important, the moment when she had proven that excellence speaks louder than prejudice, and that determination can overcome any obstacle. Years later, when young Marines would ask Maya about her path to special operations, she would tell them about the importance of preparation, the value of persistence, and the power of proving yourself through performance rather than words. She would also tell them about a colonel who had the wisdom to admit when he was wrong and the courage to change his mind when presented with evidence that contradicted his assumptions. Most importantly, she would remind them that the only person who can truly limit your potential is yourself, and that sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating others, but from refusing to accept others' limitations on your dreams. Maya's story became legend at Camp Pendleton and throughout the Marine Corps. She had done more than break records or earn respect. She had opened doors for every woman who would follow in her footsteps, proving that excellence recognizes no gender, only dedication and skill. The shooting range where it all began was eventually renamed the Rodriguez Marksmanship Complex in her honor, though Maya herself remained humble about her achievements. When asked about the recognition, she would simply say that she had been fortunate to have good teachers, supportive friends, and the opportunity to prove what she was capable of achieving. But those who knew her best understood that Maya's success was not about luck or opportunity. It was about the unwavering belief that with enough determination and preparation, any barrier could be overcome and any goal could be achieved. Torres, who had been among Maya's most vocal skeptics, eventually became one of her strongest supporters. He would often tell new Marines about the day he learned not to judge a shooter by anything other than their ability to hit what they aimed at. "Rodriguez taught us all a valuable lesson," he would say. "Never underestimate someone who shows up prepared to do the work, and never assume you know what someone is capable of until you've seen them perform under pressure." Colonel Harrison, who retired 2 years after Maya's record-breaking performance, would often speak about the importance of keeping an open mind and evaluating people based on their abilities rather than preconceived notions. "Maya Rodriguez changed my perspective on leadership," he would tell officer candidates. "Sometimes the best leaders are those who have the courage to admit when they're wrong and the wisdom to recognize excellence wherever they find it." Maya continued her military career with distinction, serving in various special operations assignments around the world. She became known not just for her exceptional marksmanship, but for her ability to train and mentor others, passing on the lessons she had learned about persistence, preparation, and the importance of never accepting artificial limitations. Her legacy extended far beyond her own achievements. She had proven that barriers exist to be broken, and that sometimes the most important victories are those that open doors for others to follow.